Looking for a large SUV which will not ruin your budget but will look money? Ford finally remembered it makes the Edge on the other side of the pond. Why not bring it to Europe?
For those of you living in North America or the Middle East, Ford Edge is old news. Made in Oakville, Ontario, this SUV is 10 years old. First generation shared underpinnings with the excellent Mazda CX-9, which unfortunately wasn't brought to Europe in big numbers, and the Edge was completely unavailable. It's a shame because until now, if you were looking for a car this size and you didn't want to pay 45 grand for a base model, you could choose between Kia Sorento and Hyundai Santa Fe. Everything else costs at least 50 grand. Don't believe me? Volkswagen Touareg starts at 54,400 euro, Mercedes-Benz GLE 54 grand, and Lexus RX a modest 50 grand. All of these are base models, so add 30–40% in options and you're looking at 65–70 grand at least.
This is where Ford Edge comes in. First of all, it's not a Kia or a Hyundai, and I know some people would rather walk than be seen driving one of these. Secondly, you can tell your friends you're driving an American SUV, albeit made in Canada. And thirdly, I mean, look at it. It's not half bad looking.
In my opinion, the Edge looks best in sport trim, but in a moment I'll also tell you why you want the titanium spec. Or Vignale. Chances are the latter will soon be sold with a hefty discount. But for now, let's look inside the boot. At 602 liters volume, the boot is on par with its rivals. There is storage under the boot floor, and, at least on Polish market, a mini spare. There are shopping bag hooks, although they do look flimsy. The boot cover also looks like an afterthought. Perhaps it was added when Ford decided to bring this car to Europe. Not everyone is as nice as the Canadians, eh? There is a 12-volt socket and a button to fold the back seats. Unfortunately, reaching deeper inside means you may touch the bumper, and this means you're getting your clothes dirty more often. Predictably, in a car this size, legroom and headroom in the back are generous. The floor is almost flat, so even the middle passenger should be fine. Side seats are heated, there's a 12-volt socket and a 230-volt socket. There are cup holders in the armrest and a place for bottles in the door bins. Speaking of the doors, they do cover the sills, so your trousers are safe even when the car is dirty. No surprises in the front either, this is almost identical dashboard we get in the Mondeo. It's easy to read. A couple of months ago, I drove the Canadian spec Edge, which had a fully digital speedo and rev counter. In this one, there are still physical numbers painted on it, but then I've also seen elements of the digital rev counter in the facelifted Ford Ranger, so why not go with it also in the European spec Edge?
This test example is an early 2016 model, so it still comes with the terrible Sync to infotainment system. However, if you're ordering your Edge now, following my inquisitive in-depth review, you're ordering yours with Sync 3 infotainment, which is much easier to use, it's much more intuitive, it's much more responsive.
There's also good size storage, cup holders, and hallelujah, someone realized a floating console like in older Volvos doesn't have to deprive me of a place to put my phone in the front. There's a cubby down here and it has USB ports in it. Thank you, this is how it should be done, and there is also a 12-volt socket on the passenger side where some people like to install CB radio equipment. In Europe, Ford Edge is available only with a 2-liter diesel, 180 or 210 horsepower. The more powerful variant is available in titanium sport or Vignale trim. Trend trim comes only with the less powerful diesel and a 6-speed manual. The 210 twin-turbo motor comes with a 6-speed power-shift dual-clutch gearbox.
As far as I'm concerned, you're not buying an SUV, an American SUV, to shift gears yourself. Of course you want an automatic. You want to waft along and sip your batshit coffee. You heard me, Google it. Speaking of wafting, remember what I said earlier about the sport trim?
Ford Edge has sport suspension and 20-inch rims. On flat, twisty roads, this is a good choice, but if you live in a place where the roads are slightly rougher, sport suspension is the last thing you want. You don't want to spill your guano coffee, do you? What you do want is adaptive steering. It's standard on sport models and costs €500 for titanium and vignale. Basically, you don't have to turn the steering wheel so much at lower speeds. It does take some getting used to at first. You don't want to scratch your car taking a 90-degree turn. And to make parking easier, Ford Edge can also be equipped in automatic, parallel and perpendicular parking system.
Regardless of engine and trim, Ford Edge comes with an active noise reduction system. There's a bunch of mics around the cabin, like the one here for example, and what it does is it picks up the noise, the tire noise, the wind noise, the engine noise, and then a processor generates a sound opposite to all these noises, and then this opposite noise is played from the speakers. So it's basically like your noise cancelling earphones.
Despite 210 horsepower under the bonnet, Ford Edge is hardly a speed demon. 0 to 100 km per hour takes 9.4 seconds, fractions quicker than Lexus RX 200T or Kia Sorento with equivalent diesel. Officially, Edge should use around 6 liters per 100 km in combined cycle, but I'd add at least 1.5 liters. It's still quite good for a car the size of a small barn.
I'll go back to handling for a minute. In titanium trim, which does not have the optional sport suspension and adaptive steering, the Edge is a comfortable cruiser. It's a comfortable, relaxed SUV. Not that the sport trim makes this a particularly sporty or fast car, but on European roads, the sport suspension, it just spoils the ride a bit. And the 20-inch rims, yeah, I suppose you can buy the sport trim and then change the wheels, but that's going to be unnecessarily expensive. I wish they allowed you, even as an option, to remove sport suspension from the sport trim, because the sport trim just looks better, in my opinion.
Regardless of trim, don't expect the Edge to be particularly capable off-road. A large puddle is more than enough. All-wheel drive in the Edge is designed to improve handling on tarmac. I also wouldn't mind an alternative drivetrain. I understand Ford Edge is not a cheap car and trying to sell it with a thirsty petrol V6 wouldn't work in Europe, but Ford does have some electric and hybrid cars in the US lineup. There is no SUV among them, but as far as I'm concerned, a PHEV Ford Edge would be the perfect SUV, offering performance and efficiency. Because let's not kid ourselves, Edge will do city school runs, and that's not ideal for a diesel.
Ford claims the Edge is a car for young mothers, or middle-aged people who want to show off their status, or, wait for it, quinquagenarians. Yes, it is a word and it exists in dictionaries and Ford presentations. And which group are you in? And do you think Ford Edge would meet your requirements? Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe, rate and share new episodes every Friday. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.